Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by author Mark Firehammer. He is the author of The Echo in the Voice, which is a genre blending novel and music experience. So we're going to be talking to Mark about everything that he's up to and going to be up to and any other important tidbits he has for the listeners. So Mark, thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure, Curtis. Thanks for having me. And I just want to hire you to just talk about me because I love the sound of your voice.
Oh, I appreciate it. Well, we're definitely going to be doing it for free right now. So start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about me. I'm in my 60s. Entire life, uh, closest to me have been disappointed by the choices that I make. And why I want to say that is that I stayed true to who I was even as a little boy. And that allowed me to grow into the human that I believe I was born to be, not the one that culture tried to tell me to be. I mean, we're all familiar with, the things that parents say to their children, like, what are you going to be when you grow up? Or that's not a serious career. Why don't you be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer? That sort of thing. You can relate to that, right, Curtis?
Yes, I absolutely can relate to that.
Right.
And what is a serious career?
Exactly. That's my point. So my life has embodied that question. And what's really great about being me for me is that all along the way, everything that I did was deeply satisfying emotionally, spiritually, even physically in a lot of ways, because it kept me moving physically. I know when I look at, the way my siblings lived their lives, they took traditional jobs and they sat in chairs hours a day and they're old and they're part of the scene. So the happy physically part for me is I always think that kept me physically, because I don't know about you, Curtis, but when I was a little kid, if there was a tree, I'd climb it. If there was a hill, I'd climb it. If there was a hole, I'd go down in it. If there was no hole, I'd dig it. Right? So that kind of set the pace. My parents struggled to try to control me. I started music early on, and my parents definitely did not like the idea of me going into the music business, which I did, and I spent 20 years in the music business. Not the industry of music, but in the business of playing music on my own terms. And that was a wonderful experience because in the last 5 years of my career, which ended in 2000, I traveled nonstop. I didn't even keep a home base. I was on the road 365 days a year, 24/7. And my experience during those 5 years taught me more about who I was at this point, at 35 years old, as a man, as a human, as an artist, and as a community member in connection with other human beings. It's a wonderful, wonderful journey. Like, people really learned a lot of culture and society and wrote all the songs. I've written nearly 100 songs. A lot of it is in and around the observations of life and how we act with each other and toward each other. And when I got off the road, I said, okay, well, what am I going to do now while I figure out the next steps? And I got into digital marketing because I had learned how to use the early internet in 1997, 1998. We all had dial-up connections. I had learned how to use that on the road to make sure that there was always, 100, 200, 300 people at the next show, 100 miles up the road. I just communicated via email and in chat groups. So I spent the 20 years that followed after that running a digital marketing agency because of those early lessons that I've learned. And now, everything that I've learned have taught me things, and now I'm writing books, still writing music, launching a nonprofit called the Creative Humanity Alliance that'll be live in 9 days. That's about all of these things I'm talking about. So that's what I am, and who I am is Mark Firehammer.
Well, Mr. Firehammer, tell us about that nonprofit organization.
Yeah, that is exciting. As I said, I'm in my 60s, and everything that I've done brought me to the point. Time knowledge is a lot that I'm seeing that this generation were already tuning in to how their parents, in a lot of ways, even though they love them, in a lot of ways, their parents had it wrong in terms how to be yourself and how to live your life. And it's not really the parents' fault because they inherited that from their parents. But the young people were showing me we get this, that culture is really trying to squash us and fit us into little boxes. And as you know, as I just explained, I've lived my life to stay out of the box. So the Creative Humanity Alliance is all about reconnecting humanity one creative act at a time, as I like to say. Because my team and I, we believe that creativity isn't a luxury. Um, the marketplace makes it seem like creativity is reserved for famous people because the famous people are the only ones that, get compensated for all the time and energy they put in. Um, so what we've got in mind is not about having talent reserved for the few. It's about the birthright. It's our first language as human beings. And somewhere along the way, when we lose touch of that and forget how creative we are, there's a piece of our souls missing. The midlife crisis is kind of a good sign of that. We're going to change that. We're artists, educators, everyday visionaries, not famous people. But people are using their gifts to things that help to restore what's been lost by us as human beings. The ability to express who we truly are to ourselves and deeply connect with the creative expression of other people as well. And we're creating a library we're calling the Pantry, full of provisions that are the materials interactive, viewable, listenable, touchable, that do just that. They remind us who we are and inspire us to reconnect with ourselves and to each other.
And you guys also have a affiliate program, so tell the listeners about that in case they want to get involved in that.
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked about that, Curtis. The affiliate program is for My Feelness. That is a physical fitness alternative, whole other subject that my partner Katrina Hawley and I developed over the last 5 years. I'm not a guy that has ever liked going to the gym. I figured out how to stay moving and keep my body working right, unlike my siblings. So Feelness is an alternative. It's not about getting ripped and shredded. That has an affiliate program, which is really cool because it's right in alignment with the Creative Alliance. Anything worth doing is worth doing with someone else. And Feelness is kind of tailor made at no artists, but are there people in your lives that you love and see them doing something? Maybe they're bending over to feed the cat or the dog or tie their shoes, and they make a sound like a grunt or oof, or they're complaining about their body. Does that ever happen? Like oof, oh my back.
Oh, absolutely. I even
Yeah.
do it.
Okay, there you go. Well, that's what Feelness is about. It's not about getting ripped and shredded and changing the way you look. It's about changing the way your body feels by listening to those. When the body says oof, when I bend over to touch my toes or whatever, the body is just trying to communicate to me that there's certain ways that you're not moving that are causing your body to be out of whack and feel bad. And Feelness gives you the prescription of simple movements, flexing, bending, stretching, reaching, very gentle, very slow, no weights, nothing like that, no sweating, that restores those problem areas. Like for me, when I got a car that had a backup camera, I've discovered that I had a hard time looking over my shoulder because cars are now they have a camera on the dashboard. You don't need to look over your shoulder like your dad did. when he was driving that 58, Impala out of the driveway. And so that's another example. There's prescription for correcting an inability to look over your shoulder or to reach for a can of coffee beans on a high shelf or to get up and down from the floor. You want to play with the grands. 10 to 20 minutes a day, wherever I am, whether I'm in the park or in my living room. And all I need, and I live better now at 63 than I did when I was 50.
Let's take a quick break.
Okay, everybody, it's Michael E. Cullen II.
And I'm Sesame and Carta from the All Too Real 2 podcast. We're passionate about movies, TV, and pretty much all things pop culture.
Dive into the chaos of failed sitcoms, direct-to-video sequels, and the quirky realms of cinema and TV.
Join us every Thursday for your dose of All Too Real 2 entertainment.
We'll guide you through debates like whether Howard the Duck qualifies as a superhero.
Ponder if Larry the Cable Guy could be the new Rock or Schwarzenegger.
Discover if some shows and movies should have stayed in the cutting room.
Ever heard of a sitcom featuring that dictator with the funny mustache? Well, we watched it.
We're dedicated to unraveling the peculiarities of pop culture, sometimes with awesome guests.
So, if you're into the eccentric world of pop culture,
listen and subscribe to All Too Real 2.
Available wherever you find podcasts
and on Age of Radio.
Well, talk about how your project artists imagine blends successfully AI with creativity while preserving the human voice.
Oh man, you have done your homework, Curtis. Yes, artists imagined, as I said, I've written 100 songs. And by the time I got out of the business of music, I had only released 22 of those songs. So here I am, a very craft-oriented songwriter. I mean, I approach songwriting like a craft, not like a bolt of inspiration. And so here I am 2 years ago, or December of last year, actually, going, all right, I have 70 some odd more songs that no one will ever hear them. And like I said, I write songs that are meant to be heard and make people go, oh, or huh, rather than ooh or ah. It's not an exciting thing. It's an introspective storytelling, kind of like when you read a novel, you take something away from the novel. My songs are like that. So the Artist Imagined was a moment in time when a friend of mine turned me on to an AI tool that you could take the lyrics that you've written, put them in there, decide what you want the song to sound like. Do you want it to be hard rock? Do you want it to be a country song? What kind of voice do you want? Older voice, scratchy voice, a pure tenor like an Irish balladeer, whatever you want. If you can imagine it and you know how to use the tool, you can coax your song that you wrote into however you hear it in your head. That's what happened to me, Curtis. I had written a lot of songs that they weren't even really right for my voice because as you can hear, I have a high, clear tenor. And some of my songs really demanded more of an energetic, maybe John Bon Jovi or Springsteen or, some hard rock sort of voice. And this tool all of a sudden gave me the capability to take any of these songs that I feel are important, and I wrote them because I thought I had something important to say, and make them sound exactly how I heard them in my head. And that's a pretty cool thing from a creativity point of view, because as an artist, I wanted to give voice to a story. And if my voice isn't the right voice, the physical sound of my voice, this tool gave me the ability to imagine that and then apply what I imagined to the song. 20 years ago, I would have had to spend a fortune to hire a band, hire audition singers, get a sound engineer, spend a fortune, and maybe get something that I didn't even like. I ran out of money before I got the job done. This is a very powerful tool, and I get a lot of people that criticize me for using AI, but they're jumping to the conclusion. They're not taking a moment to say, okay, so you wrote the songs, right? You wrote the lyrics, you wrote the melody. You're just using AI to generate the soundscape that you need to tell the story. And in the album that is in the novel, Curtis, the main character, Jonas Wilder, he writes these songs on the experience of being a traveling musician. Much like me in my journey, I observed, I wrote, I thought, I reflected, and then I wrote again. He wrote this entire album and discovered that when listeners who were paying attention heard them in the right order, it woke them up to something they'd forgotten about themselves. And so it's the catalyst, not to give too much away, in part 3 of the book where he decides, okay, I'm going to get off the road now. My work here is done, and I'm going to take this to the next level for me, Jonas Wilder, create this album, get my old band back together again, ask them, I'll beg them to help me record it. He does that, he releases it, and then a movement begins at the end of the book that's about this revival of finding your own inner voice and expressing yourself again. It's a passion that's near and dear to my heart.
Well, let's talk about another passion that's near and dear to your heart about how what is the biggest myth that you believe people have about creativity and how can they break that myth or get out of that belief?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Of course, I have to talk from my own point of view. And I've been around the block enough times to know that when it comes to what I'm about to say, a lot of people will resonate with it and others will flat out reject it very, very quickly. So, that being said, I think the biggest myth about creativity is that you either are creative and artistic, you have that mind, or you're not. What I've discovered is that if you take a person that doesn't believe they're creative and you just get to know them and you talk them through reconnecting with the things they loved as a child. I'm talking is your earliest memory. If you can get them to think about those things, talk about those things, you begin to see a light come on in their eyes. That's creativity. Because when you don't know anything about the world and about life because you're just a child, it's all magic. And creativity has the appearance of being magic. But children are connected to life and the world before they're squished by culture and by demands of, performance. They see beyond the veil of reality. They see the interconnectivity of it all. Yeah, they have invisible friends, and they have long conversations with something or someone that no one else can see. And society takes that away from them. That's the key to creativity. Just reconnect with what you loved as a kid, do it over and over again, and you will suddenly be inspired to do something that was triggered by those early passions. I've done this over and over again, Curtis, with people, and I've not yet found one person that doesn't get anything out of it. It's a wonderful thing to watch.
Well, let's go back and talk about fitness real quick.
Sure, sure.
Two-part question. Why do you feel that the fitness industry has overlooked most of the population and talk about the nine fundamental movement tasks that you feel that people should observe as they age?
Yeah, sure. Well, all you have to do, Curtis, is look at the advertising for fitness. And what you always see is like ripped, like super lean, super muscular, sweating. They're in a gym, they're working really hard, and they're really happy at doing that. And they talk about, oh, everybody here is strong, right? Right now, what is the one that's advertising that? It's the gym that's $10 a month and all their equipment is purple. Club Fitness, no, fitness. Anyway, to answer your question, how we know the industry has it wrong is it's all about the way you look. Let me give you an example. If you ask somebody, how do you know when someone is fit? They'll always say, "Oh, I can tell by looking at them. Oh, look how fit you are. Oh, you're so fit. Are you going to the gym? What are you doing? You look so good." The reality is, the only way to get that ripped if you're not cheating by taking growth hormones or steroids or some kind of supplement, the only way to get that appearance is to build up so much muscle and so much strength that you have way more strength than your life actually demands from you. So at the end of the day, the fitness play is about gaining the look. And when you ask somebody, how much can you lift? Oh, I can lift 300 pounds. That's cool. So, do you ever need to lift 300 pounds? Well, no. So why do you do it? Well, because, I want to stay fit and I want to be able to lift 300 pounds. At the end of the day, what they really want is to look that way. And they want people to say to them, "Oh, you look so fit." Right? It has become something outside of us to achieve. It looks attractive. It looks wonderful. But the thing is, billions of us simply don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy the grinding and the lifting and the running. I don't enjoy any of that. The truth about fitness is that the right fitness level for anyone is the level of fitness that meets the demand that your life puts on your body. Right? If the most I have to lift is my 15-pound cat, I don't need the ability to be able to lift 75 or 100, right? I don't need that. Now we're getting to the other side of your question, the 9 movements. If you can get out of bed in the morning, and most people's beds are like 20 inches off the floor, if you can get out of the bed in the morning and not groan and moan or struggle to get out of bed, that's 1 down. You're good to go, right? Now, the next thing that you do is you walk somewhere. If you can successfully make that walk with no physical complaints, like, oh, ooh, right? You with me? That's 2, right? No problems there. Now I go to the kitchen, I reach for the can of beans, the coffee beans on the top shelf. My shoulder hurts, right? There's a problem there. I need to address that. That's 3. 4, sitting down in a chair for breakfast, 30, 40 minutes. Is that uncomfortable? And I get out of that without moaning, groaning, saying, oof, right? That's, can I to the floor for whatever reason, play with the grand, play with the dog, sandbox, whatever, play with your train set. Can I then get up from the floor without moaning and groaning or using a cane? That's 7. Number 8 is, I think that's 8 right there. Yes. So number 9 is back in the car out of the driveway, looking all the way over my shoulder and seeing behind me. All of those things, if you don't complain at all, you're what's known as feelness level 0. No complaints. If any of those 9 make you go, oof, you simply go to the prescription for bending over or getting out of bed or reaching up to the high shelf. And there's collections of 7 simple movements. Like if you're working on getting up and down from the floor, there's an exercise where you spread your toes, where you rotate your ankles both directions, where you point and then pull them back, and you're lying on your back when you do this, point them again, pull them back. There's 7 of those for every part of your body. All you have to do is take your body through those simple movements at the knees, the waist, back, the hands, and the wrists. But you only have to do the areas that are in the thing that's making your body complain. Does that make sense? So if you're reaching, you only do the movements for head, neck, shoulders, and upper back. If you have trouble walking, you only do the movements for your ankles, your knees, and your hips. If you have trouble bending over or sitting in a chair, getting down into a chair, it's lower back and hips and a little bit of knee work. And each one of the areas only takes 10 minutes and it's non-straining, no weights, no repetitions, just gentle movement. I turned around, Curtis, 4 problem areas in July of 2023. I had trouble walking. bending over, getting down to the floor, and twisting to look over my shoulder. Those are the four prescriptions I need. In 28 days, a total of 830 minutes. If you do the math, it's 29 minutes a day. I went from 4 complaints out of 9 to 0 complaints out of 9. Now here we are, what, in September of 25? That's almost 2 years. I don't have any complaints. And I don't go to the gym. I don't do anything. I corrected my problems.
Absolutely. So tell us about any upcoming projects that you're working on that people need to know about. And also, I know in the green room you said you wanted to talk about your author name. So talk about that.
Yes. I recently lost. She was 9 years old. Out of a family of 5, she was the only ally that I had because my dad was a bit of a tyrant and my sisters were just obedient. And so, in honor of my mother, I never thought the name Firehammer really fit my style, my energy, my personality. It was too aggressive. So I thought for this book and for my books, I'm going to change my name. And Kindbloom, Kindbloom, is my mother's family name from Sweden. Now you'd have to go back probably great her great grandmother or her great grandfather to get that name, but I decided I'm going to honor her by taking that gentle, beautiful name. And the JW, the initials, is the initials of the protagonist in the book, Jonas Wilder. So JW Kindbloom. Just my way of kind of giving the nod to my mom, wherever she is. I know you know, she's around me energetically.
Absolutely. And my condolences. So tell us about any upcoming projects that you're working on that people need to be aware of.
Well, I mentioned the Creative Humanity Alliance 9 days from launch. We're already ready as a Massachusetts. We've got a board of directors. Uh, the library is starting to come together of the products that educators and facilitators and even parents or even children can just help themselves to these things. We have theater projects. One that I'm actually really excited about is 9 to 13-year-olds act out the common arguments that they see adults have in the house, like not taking out the garbage or leaving the toilet seat up, that sort of thing. So there's a bit of a comedic edge to it. But these kids, they dress up like adults and they act out the arguments badly, just like they witness their parents do. But then someone steps in and says, now we're going to do it a different way. And the script is written with it's non-violent communication language where these kids model how to have the same fight and not lose the connection. They, instead of mom and dad being mad for a couple of days and splitting up and going to their separate rooms, these arguments come together and then they dissipate. And we have children modeling this. One of the first things we'll do after the launch of the Alliance is raise the money we need to put together a mobile production. We'll send the script in the region, and, put this together, change it any way you need to, fit your preferences. Get a little video. We will come out and we will record the thing with through cameras very professionally, and then we'll use that content to put it out in world social media to model for the world that there's another way to have an argument, a gentler way. And that's just one example of 9 things that we've already nearly completed building. And the Alliance is going to bring together a lot of really cool, creative people that are going to work together cross-generationally to create even more magical things. Imagine this for a minute, Curtis. We've got let's say sculptors, right? They make sculptures out of clay. You've got a 20-year-old, a 40-year-old, a 60-year-old, and an 80-year-old sculptor. And they come together and they work on one project together that they figure out by collaborating across those generations. And the end result will be a point of view from all of those generations. It's bound to be amazingly different than what any one of them would do alone. And we've even created a curriculum to teach the cross generational communication. My partner Katrina is working on that. So it's going to be a really fun next 10 or 20 years. So.
Well, throw out your contact info so people can keep up with everything that you're up to.
Well, the best place to learn about all of this is markfirehammer.com. It's spelled just like it sounds. But if you want to take creative Alliance, that's pretty exciting. There's a launching soon and a countdown timer there now, so there's not much to see. So I'd say today, markfirehammer.com. That's MarkFirehammer.com. There's a jumping off point for everything that I'm up to for the last 60 years.
We'll close this out with some final thoughts. Maybe if there was something I forgot to talk about that you would like to touch on, or any final thoughts you have for the listeners.
Oh, the only final thought that I have is find somebody that you disagree with on something and just find a way to connect with them. Tell them that you appreciate them and set aside any differences you have and just act loving toward each other and see if that makes your life better.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, markfirehammer.com. Be sure to pick up that book. Check out that nonprofit launch when it launches, and follow, rate, review. Share this episode to as many people as possible. Embrace creativity. Follow us on your favorite podcast platform. And for more information on the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, please visit www.curveball337.com. Join that newsletter, leave any reviews or anything you want to say. Thank you for listening and supporting the show. And Mark, thank you for all that you do, and thank you for joining me.
You're welcome, Curtis, and thank you too.
For more information on the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, visit www.curveball337.com. Until next time, keep living the dream.